Before actually getting into your program, I want you to go over a couple things about how to set your trunk. And I know this sounds like, oh, well, I know what to do there. Now, most people get this wrong. So pay really close attention, because if you set this right, you will avoid injury, you will increase performance, you will increase your work capacity to do that performance, and you'll have more longevity throughout this thing. And because of all of those things, we will actually get more out of the program, okay? So really pay close attention to this, because this is something we have people that need constant reminder of this as they go through. So definitely come back, rewatch this video each month, maybe every week here for a little bit, but really get clear on what abdominal bracing is, not abdominal hollowing. There's a big difference here. Back in the, I don't know, like late 90s, early 2000s, everybody was stomach hollowing. They were sucking in, they were doing this draw-in maneuver, pulling their belly button towards their spine. Now, is there anything wrong with this? Well, there's a few things that we thought at the time that were better off. We noticed that if you raise your arm, if you did anything, the first muscle to click off was your transverse abdominis, which is like a natural lifting belt on the inside of your core here. It's one of the layers of your core. You don't just have a six-pack up front. You have obliques, you have inner obliques, you have a bunch of stuff going on. Anyway, so TVA clicks on when you raise your arm. It's one of the first ones. We thought, okay, well, if we draw the belly button in towards the spine, it ignites that TVA and things go really well. Well, what we found was that when we turned the volume up on TVA, we turned the volume down on all the other muscles. So all the other muscles didn't get into the action near as well as the TVA did. The TVA went up, but all the other ones went down, so we were overall weaker. Another thing to keep into consideration here, because draw-in maneuver obviously does not work, is that this is your force transducer, okay? These are your wheels, and these are your wheels, okay? Your upper and lower limbs, okay? Those are your wheels to your car, okay? Those are what are gonna go. This is your manifold keeping everything together. I think that's what a manifold does. Anyway, this is the bracing, this is the thing that needs to brace that these can push off from. Okay, so your core actually is the transducer by which you can move in every direction. But this is an anti-mover. We use these to catapult off of this, okay? We use these to catapult off of this. This is the structure that they push from, okay? This is the structure that they launch off of. So we have to maintain this for spine health, but also work capacity, performance, all these other reasons. So do this with me real quick. Just push your hands into your gut as hard as you can. Take a big deep breath and push out into your hands as far as you can. Push out, okay? Some people have a little bit of an aversion to this because they're like, oh, what if this gets bigger? I don't want to get bigger around here. You will not get bigger. You actually increase the strength of this, which will actually maintain the position of what it is, okay? I'm not saying that draw-in maneuver doesn't work for certain things like pulling in your waist. Like, you can practice draw-in maneuver, but do it as an additional exercise later. Don't do it as the exercise to when you're gonna do squats, when you're gonna do deadlifts, when you're gonna do bench press, when you're gonna do anything. And certain people are gonna have to just get used to bracing right away because their core is so weak at the beginning. Okay, so I would encourage you, at least for the first 2 months here, brace up, push that gut out hard every time that you go to do a curl, every time that you go to move, every time that you do anything, so that you can keep that spine healthy. All right, but keep in mind what this is. What's going on here when we do this abdominal bracing, what we're doing, we're taking this big air in and we're pushing our guts out, and we're pushing against, we're creating pressure in here. When we create pressure, we create stability, right? You know, like maybe this is a bad analogy. I don't know. I have a way with analogies, but a balloon is not very stable when it's empty. A balloon is very stable. You can push it around. You can do a lot of things with it and it can stand up on its own when it's full of air. You're trying to fill this up with air. Okay, second, when you have all this pressure, when you have all this abdominal pressure going out, it creates almost a super stiffness around the trunk. Okay, it kind of creates a super stiffness where the stiffness is greater than the sum of the parts. The strength is greater than the sum of the parts. When you brace up like this, you really get tight in here. But we don't just want to tighten, we want to push out. We really want to drive out and tighten to make all of those come together so that the sum of the parts are all working together. Synergy. But we want that. We want this big bracing before we go into a squat, before we go into a deadlift, before we go into any lift where this is going to become a thing. All right, so really consider that. We're going to push your hands in, and really push out. And that's how you're gonna get in that position. So you're gonna take the bar off. Let's say you're doing a front squat. We're gonna take the bar off, push out, hold, come back up, and then we're gonna take our inhale, exhale, and then we're gonna brace again. You get what I'm saying? Make sure you get that good bracing. You wanna brace as hard as you possibly can. Don't do this stomach hollowing crap. It does not actually stabilize your spine. It is gonna decrease your work capacity. It's going to be a maneuver that eventually leads to something bad. And it actually set up a lot of people for a failure because even when we do teach the bracing stuff, it's hard to get them to do it because they've been practicing stomach hollowing for so long. Get rid of this draw and maneuver crap. It's garbage. Get to this bracing thing. This bracing thing is how your trunk actually is supposed to work. It brings in the diaphragm, it brings in the obliques, it brings in the whole show. So definitely start bracing as hard as you possibly can before you're doing your lifts. Your lifts are gonna go up just because of that one thing. This is your force transducer. Take care of this thing.